Hey, I'm Matt. This is Let's Talk Music, and I am here with the beautiful and talented Kate Nord. She is joining us from medieval town Italy today, where she says the weather is very bad. So that is kind of fitting for this interview, seeing as how it's a you create a symphonic fantasy metal. The clouds and the bad weather kind of fits with that.
Well, in a way, um, I feel like my fantasy twist on the music is more useful, maybe to escape the bad weather.
There you go. So, Kate, you're originally from Finland.
Yes,
And there you are a classically trained singer.
exactly. Yes, I started to train for classical vocals after learning about Nightwish. So I tried to sing along with the songs, but it didn't quite work out. So I decided I should probably practice and study properly.
Well, I appreciate the timing. Today is, the 12th, and you are actually releasing your new album, Compass to Your Heart's Desire, December 16th, 2022.
Yes, yes, indeed. It's
So
finally here.
tell me about your album.
Well, it's been in the works for many years, and the people who have been following me have been asking me lately, when is it coming? Is there actually an album? Or are you just telling us that there is an album, but there really isn't? No, it's finally it's here. It's taken me many years to figure out that I really wanted to do a fantastical music experience. I tried a lot of different things, but in the end, that was the way to go.
Hmm.
So now I've finally created this mix of folk music and classical music with a symphonic orchestra and operatic vocals with metal guitars.
Nice. So I see that one of your influences was that you discovered Nightwish in high school.
Yes, yes, like many others.
Yes, Nightwish is quite interesting band. I remember the first time that I seen him, and I was like, "Wow!" I was kind of blown away. So,
Yes, yeah. Well,
but
I was only 14 when I listened to them at the first time, so it took some time for me to be able to join the concerts. In Finland, you have to be 18 for most concert areas because
oh,
they are selling beer. So, oh well. But I was able to see them a few years back when they came to Rome with Flor, and she was amazing as well. I was absolutely blown away. Still amazing.
so like you say, this has been a long time coming. So, what was it that was holding you up? Was it just the making sure that the music was perfect, or that there was only certain songs that you wanted to put on it? I mean, what was the complications outside of
Oh,
code?
the complication. No, there was a complication in my mind because I was worrying that maybe I would look like just another Nightwish copycat. But eventually, I just had to realize that I am me and I will do my music. And by the way, my cats are here. They will be climbing on me a bit while we're talking.
No problem. No problem at all. I did an
Thank you.
interview on
They're
Friday. I
taking
got
the
guy
company.
had a dog sitting on his lap. So,
So it was more of a mindset thing that it took a while for me to get the courage also to put myself out there because when you publish anything really you kind of expose yourself to a lot of nice stuff but also critiques of course,
yes.
but I feel like I'm ready.
Well, that's good. I look forward to hearing it. I checked out uh the one song, what was that? Walking in the Air. I
Oh
believe
yes.
yes, and I really enjoyed it. What made me want to talk to you was I seen I guess your promotion for your album. And I've been working with some people in Italy, Germany, different areas over in Europe and have talked to a few bands, Finnish bands, Italian bands, Irish, and it's been a really nice experience. I mean, it's really cool to see how, the European music differs from, the United States. And like, we consider back in the day the British invasion with like Judas Priest and whatever, but that was a lot like Western metal. You know what I mean? So the
Yes,
bands that I'm listening to now, um, they have their own spin on it. They have their own culture and heritage involved in it, and I think it's really cool to just be able to hear, music from around the world.
absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree. And one thing that I love particularly about the metal music genre is you can take any kind of music from anywhere in the world, and almost certainly there is a metal band that's done their spin on it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
It's
It's
very, very creative, very creative people.
so I see that your first album, Risen, from Scarlet Records in 2014, was chosen Best Metal Newcomer of the Year by MetalUnderground.com. That's impressive.
That was a surprise. We did our best with that one, of course. That album was with my collaborators, Noveria. They're a progressive power metal band, and I've been their lyricist from the beginning. That was a very cool thing to happen. Definitely, we did not expect that, but we were very happy about it, of course. Noveria was not a kind of starter or beginner band. We were all people who had lots of experience from before. So I guess it came out as a pretty solid newcomer band, although the members per se weren't actually exactly newcomers anymore.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can tell just by your voice that, you've had training. I mean, you don't wail out some music like that just being a normal person, I mean, you definitely have to have vocal training and stuff for that. And, I it is it hard to sing like that?
Well, not anymore. I've trained for 15 years and more to make it look easy.
I
Oh,
just go
you
ahead.
know, I always like to say that singing, although it's not a sport, it is a physical activity. So you must be very in tune with your physical body to
Mhm.
be able to sing better. And the more you sing, the more you become in sync with your physical essence. So
Right.
it becomes, of course, training is important. It took me maybe 10 years to reach a similar sound to what I have today. And then, of course, in time, the voice also matures. But it was a long, a long process. And I trained in many different schools, many different teachers. The last step, let's say, was doing some university level courses over here in Italy. And that
Mhm.
was really something that for me took my vocals to the next level, because then I could kind of mix the culture also within the teaching and the
Okay.
style of teaching. That was very useful for me.
Well, I know a lady that I talked to the other night, a lead singer for a band. She said that like what she does is she constantly, is practicing. She doesn't smoke, she doesn't drink, she eats clean. She's like, because your body is your instrument, and you have to treat it just as well as you would like a prize guitar or whatever. You have to take care of it. And it makes sense, because I mean, I know with your type of vocals requires a lot of diaphragm work, correct?
Well, it requires a lot of everything work. The a lot of people talk about singing from the diaphragm, but really it's mostly all the other muscles that are helping the diaphragm to come back up more slowly.
Okay.
And also the thing you said about you being the instrument, it's very correct. And sometimes I would like to go out for a concert or something, or a night out or something like that, and just plop the vocal cords out and leave them on a shelf. Unfortunately, it's not possible. So yeah, there are some sacrifices that you need to make. That's for sure.
Right. We unfortunately are not detachable. I mean, that would be nice to be able
No,
to do that once in a while, you know.
exactly. And also they're not replaceable, for guitar players or bass players, they can, even piano players, they can change the strings, but we're stuck with the ones we have. So
So
we better treat them well.
what is it that when you was a little girl that you just decided, hey, this is what I want to do? I want to be a singer. I want to be a performer. You know, what was it that just made that happen for you?
Well, I've been thinking about that in the last few days because I don't quite remember when it was that I really started playing with my voice and singing and inventing rhymes and stuff like that. But I remembered actually just yesterday about, or just the other day, about my first ever concert that I went to, and it was this children's music, actually a duo of two guys who were singing and playing different instruments. But something just made a very big impression on me about that concert, even though it wasn't very serious music, but but they had a lot of clever things incorporated into the music. Just because it's kids music doesn't mean it has to be stupid. So
Right.
so that was something I remember just in the last few days, because I have this memory that my mom told me afterwards that me and my friends were sitting like in a trance, watching something magical happen. It did feel like it, and I still feel like it's magic every time that I create something that I like.
Awesome. Yeah, that's I mean, that's actually one of the better stories that I've heard. I mean, usually you know, you ask that question and well, you know, my family was always playing music or my dad was in a band, my mom was in a band, whatever, you know. So the fact
Well,
that
there was an element of that too. My father always loved to sing, but he wasn't a musician, a trained musician. My mom loved to sing, and she's singing in choirs.
okay.
And I also have a brother who is a musician, so there is that aspect. But I think the kind of key moment probably it was that concert,
Nice.
because I realized that what kind of impact it can have.
Now, you was talking about how it's a little hard because you put yourself out there and you're exposing yourself. Do you have any sort of stage fright, or do you just get out there and do your thing?
Well, I think a little bit of, not stage fright, like paralyzing stage fright, but a little bit of nervousness. It's useful also before going on stage. And I've never done a good performance unless I've been to some degree anxious before, because it just gives you a kick of adrenaline to go ahead and do it. I don't know. I think it's been more easy for me to do live performances than actually recording things and publishing, because the live music, it just lives in the moment. If
Hmm.
something goes wrong, you can just do it again another time. But when you publish, it stays.
Right. So like
So it's different.
the nervousness, how far into your set does that go away? Is it like after the first song and you realize you nailed it, or when does that dissipate?
Well, it dissipates, let's say 4 or 5 hours after. But it's also, it's funny because when you're anxious, your body has a similar reaction to when you're excited about something. So it's more about, taking that energy and trying to transform it into your your best possible performance at the moment. And I try to do that. Usually, I get into the going in stage mood, and I try to tell myself I'm excited, but really I'm anxious.
Well,
and
I mean,
and and it keeps the energy high, and it also helps to stay focused throughout the set, so you don't mess up and forget where you are in the song or something like that.
Now, do you have an actual band, or do you just use like travel bands when you're
Well,
out?
for now, for this album or for this project as a solo artist, I have a bunch of people who are participating, but I don't have a solid band just yet. I'm going to see actually how this album release is going to go, and then I will figure out when and how I can bring it live, because
Okay.
it will take some time, and also it's not very cheap to go on and play live anymore,
No.
especially with gas prices the way they are.
Right. Yeah. Well, we have that problem here too. So
Yes.
I hear that quite
I
a
know.
bit. Yeah.
I guess it's a global thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. It does that. A lot of the musicians says, or they say, hey, it's got to make sense. It's got to be. They hate them.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, but it's got to be financially smart. And because a lot of the guys, most of the people I talk to are independent artists. They're not backed by a label. So, everything they do is with their own money. And,
exactly.
it's, it, I guess I get where they're coming from. And it just, um, because, even in a small area, where you're traveling within like 1,000-mile radius, I mean, that's going to eat up gas. And then there's hotel stays and everything else. And I mean, as an artist, you're doing what you love, but and able to get it out there for people to love it too, you have to be able to make the money to do what you do. And I mean, that's
Yes. And
I
also pay the bills and maybe eat some food in between.
yeah, I mean, they say eating's pretty important, just like breathing, but
Yeah, if it was possible to just live off the music, then we would have a lot more traveling musicians, I think.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You'd have a lot more
Yeah,
fans too, because that would I know I'd be at a concert every day.
absolutely.
So I love live performances. I mean, it's one of my favorite things is like I think something like if I was to come see you, um, one of my biggest things I think in my mind is does she sound live like she does, you know, on the recording?
Oh
And
yeah.
9 times out of 10, I am so just blown away because they sound better. You know,
Yes.
I mean, I remember going and seeing this band called Steelheart, and this guy hit just such a high note, and I'm like, I'll be impressed if he can do it, and he nailed it throughout the entire concert.
Oh,
And
that's great.
you
Those are
know,
great surprises. Really lovely.
yeah, I mean, it's because I mean, I've been to concerts where they sounded nothing like the album, and I'm like, okay, I mean, it was good, but it wasn't, great, and I think that kind of puts a higher expectation on musicians is when we hear, especially somebody who's new, who's never been out and toured before, you
Sure.
hear their album, you're like, oh man, this thing rocks and stuff. And then you go to the concert, you're like, okay, we want to hear it just like it does on the album or better. And, it's, I almost feel like you guys put that expectation on yourself too. Am I right?
Oh yes. Yes. Absolutely. There's a big pressure, especially for me at least. There's a lot of pressure for me to be the best me every day
Right.
that I perform. And I've been performing for a long time. I've been performing a lot more than I've been actually releasing music. So it doesn't scare me that much to go on stage. But I also put some pretty technically challenging things on this album, not just for the high notes, because well, unless I'm really sick, the high notes are always there. But also in the vein of fast pieces, some phrasings that are very long, so it will be a challenge to get through that without breathing. But that's also something that it may be more difficult to actually do it in the studio because you're missing the adrenaline kick from a live crowd.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Some things are just impossible to do without somebody to cheer you on, you know?
so when you do a live show, do you have people that you look out in the crowd and people are singing back to you?
Sometimes it happens, you know. Mostly I'm playing folk music with a trio
Hmm.
in the last few years. So we try to pick things that are particular and a couple, you know, traditionals that people will know. It's cool when it happens. I like it.
I bet.
But you also have to take care when the crowd participates because you have to go on tempo, but the crowd doesn't know that they should do the same. And they
Right.
are not required to because they are just there to, you know, be a part of the concert.
Right.
So every time that you can start hearing people clapping, that's when you have to take care to not mess up your own tempo.
Yeah. Yeah. I can understand that. So I see here that a lot of your music today comes from Scandinavian folk tales about trolls and fairies and the illustrations for these tales.
Yes, indeed. I've been researching a lot of medieval ballads for kind of inspirations for different things. I found many inspirational things, and in fact, I'm already working on some new things. But there is one medieval ballad in particular that stood out to me about this man who is going to meet his bride. He's supposed to get married the next day, and he's traveling, and then he meets these fairies. And you know, the folktale fairies aren't the kind of pretty things and nice creatures with little wings and giving you gifts or something like that. No, the fairies were quite a nasty folk, actually.
Right.
So in the medieval ballad, what happens is the guy meets actually a princess of the fairies, which is possibly even worse because she is more powerful than the normal ones.
Hmm.
The fairy princess wants to dance, but he says no because he needs to go and have his wedding. And he is then cursed by the fairy queen or fairy princess. So he leaves and he's able to reach his home, but he dies upon arrival.
Oh wow.
So that's you know, the fairies, you know, old folk tales. You can tell them no, you can tell them yes. You won't have a good time anyway. It's just better to not meet them.
Right. So just before we close out here, do you think maybe you could give me a little sample of your voice?
Oh, maybe we can try. I have to get a little bit further away from the phone, or it will distort.
Okay.
For example, the song I was just talking about, "The Dance of the Fairies," has a very folksy little melody in the verse. Wandering one autumn long came riding by a field of fox, as mist around him rose and fell, like voices soft as silver bells.
That was awesome.
And then it continues along the lines of this folksy thing with
Yeah.
small with more fancy things for when the fairies come around.
That was great, Kate. Thank you very much. I got goosebumps from that.
Oh.
So,
Well, it seems I didn't study for nothing. Good for me.
okay, well, I really do appreciate your time and I appreciate you talking with me, and I will look forward to the release of the new album. I'll be sure to download it, and I just keep doing you, girl. You're an amazing person, an amazing singer, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure.
All right. You have a good evening.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
All right. Bye.